2020 is a highly significant year in the overall history of the club, with 4 landmark occasions to commemorate. Its direct antecedents, Leeds St John's, formed by the clergy of the town centre church that still stands, and the original Blue and Ambers were formed 150 years ago in 1870, playing their initial games on the Cinder Militia Barracks before moving to Cardigan Fields, that venue commemorated with a blue plaque where McDonald's now stands. With the completion of the palatial Headingley complex on lot 17A of the Cardigan estate 20 years later, St John's were invited to become the football section of the Leeds CFNA and change their name, and faced Manningham in the first game here on the 20th of September 1890, wearing terracotta and green. 5 years after that, the sport celebrated its 125th birthday, Leeds becoming one of the 22 founding clubs of the Northern Union, defeating Lee away 6-3 in the first round of fixtures on the 7th of September 1895. It took a while for Leeds to establish their credentials, helped by the disbanding of the Leeds Parish Church team and their best players coming further north. And in 1910, 90 years ago, the club claimed their first trophy, decisively winning the Challenge Cup at Huddersfield against Hull, the first to go to a replay. How fitting then that the trophy that should adorn the Headingley sideboard once more this year too. The 2020 season will go down in history as one of the most challenging for the sport. But if there has been a ray of hope, it's been in the blooding of so many of the next generation of potential stars. Appropriately, a total of 13 players made their debuts for the Rhinos and were accordingly awarded a heritage number, Sam Walters the latest, claiming 1,466. Enrolment in the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame is the highest accolade the club can bestow, which is why the Leeds Rhinos Foundation Heritage Committee made the qualification for inclusion in it so stringent. For the concept to have meaning and be carried on in generations to come, the precedent for eligibility had to be immutable. It is based on 4 criteria, all of which must be met for a player to be deemed worthy of being acknowledged as an immortal. They are: played a minimum of 150 first-team games for Leeds, achieved representative honours during their playing career, have made an exceptional contribution to the sport, and been retired for a minimum of 5 years or sooner, if under exceptional circumstances. No attempt is being made to rank members in terms of status. Those who meet the criteria now and over the course of future years are all equal, acknowledged greatness. To date, 12 players have been formally inducted into the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. 1. John Holmes, the greatest appearance maker for the club, World Cup winner, master in 19 finals and architect of victory in the majority of them. Will have a statue erected to him by the South Stand. 2. Keith McClellan, a magnificent captain of the 1957 Cup run who barely missed a tackle in his career. A try scorer as Leeds beat the Australian tourists in 1956, the only such post-war success. 3. David Ward, inspirational skipper and dynamic hooker who spent 20 years at the club as player and coach, appeared in 14 finals and the inaugural Man of Steel in 1977. 4. Lewis Jones, one of the most sensational signings in the sport's history, the second highest point scorer and goal kicker. His official season total of 496 in 1956-7 is still the greatest haul ever seen. 5. Joe Thompson, the first forward to be selected on 3 Lions tours, a prodigious goal kicker and the first Leeds player to hold 2 Challenge Cup winners' medals. 6. Bev Risman, part of one of the sport's greatest dynasties. His experience at the back transformed Roy Francis's great side of the late 1960s, awarded an OBE for his services to the sport. 7. Jeff Stevenson, the first Leeds player to win the Lance Todd Trophy at Wembley in 1957, the last skipper to lead Great Britain to a Rugby League Series victory over Australia on home soil. 8. Gary Schofield, a world record buy in 1987, bringing the proud local boy home. A tri-poacher supreme, he made 4 tours and was the Golden Boot winner for the best in the world and an OBE. 9. Eric Harris, the greatest finisher in Leeds' history, the Toowoomba ghost of imperceptible acceleration, sensationally scored 392 tries in 383 appearances during the glorious 1930s. 10. Sid Hines, the 1,000th player to pull on a Leeds shirt, an Ashes winner and the club's first player coach. He was never on the losing side in 7 finals when in charge. 11. John Atkinson, one of the classiest wingers of his generation, scored magnificent tries on the biggest occasions and stages for both club and country. 12. Barry McDermott, a South Stand cult hero renowned for his uncompromising defence, rallying charges and nurturing of the golden generation.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. And to welcome this year's inductees, I'd like to welcome Phil Kaplan, the chairman of the Leeds Rhinos Heritage Group.
If you were to draw up a profile of someone who is the epitome of what rugby league and life stands for, they are encapsulated by the Pontefract pocket rocket, who first made an impact with juniors Featherstone Lions. The little man constantly taking on and overcoming the bigger odds, the courageous underdog we are all predisposed to support, forever proving the naysayers and can't possibly do us wrong. He represents the best of what we all hope to be. Few in such a competitive environment transcend club allegiances, but has been seen recently in particular, his honesty and bravery on and off the field absolutely does. From his debut in 2001 and for 16 further seasons, he was the talisman of the best that the competition represents. No matter the Rhinos' golden generation success, he was such an integral part of. The first Leeds player to be a twice winner of the Harry Sunderland Trophy, including by a unanimous margin in 2011, his astonishing speed off the mark, terrific support play which saw him reap some superb tries on the end of flowing moves he often instigated, and the most sterling of defenders, is the archetypal modern scrum half, selflessly putting the team before his acknowledged preference of starting in his favoured role. The quality, humanity and dignity shown in subverting the personal for the ultimate cause spoke volumes about his work ethic, ultra-determination and sacrifice. With 8 Super League winners' rings, including the acknowledged best ever solo try at Old Trafford, 2 Challenge Cup final successes and 3 World Club Challenge triumphs and League Leaders Shields, he is the most successful number 7 in the club's history. He also made 20 appearances in total for his country, and in 2007 was awarded the George Smith Medal as the best player in the Great Britain series against New Zealand. Always family first, he has been and continues to be a magnificent ambassador for the club, the sport and humanity. The 16th inductee is Rob Burrow, heritage number 1326, 429 appearances between 2001 and 2017.
Yeah, firstly, massive congrats to Rob. It's well deserved. Champion player, halfback, the famous Leeds Rhinos team. You know, the most successful Rhinos team in history, and in Super League really. And so, with Rob, it's just so explosive, so tough, so competitive, pretty demanding on the field, really animated, really pushed the team around. He used to run up the left edge at the Rhinos there, and you had players like Ali Lautiti, Keith Senior, Scotty Donald at first, and then was Ryan Hall, and he used to run that left edge, and man, they were lethal.
Yeah, first time I met him would be probably about under 11s. I always played the year above for East Leeds, so I was always playing against bigger lads, and I remember dropping back to my own age to play for Yorkshire under 11s, and there was this little whippet running around the field with an head guard on, and I was really small. I was probably one of the smallest in the team, but I remember we had a team photo at the end for Yorkshire, and I thought I'll go stand next to this kid because I'm taller than him, and it turned out to be Rob, and you know, our friendship blossomed from them. We pretty much sort of mirrored each other's careers all the way through. Obviously I played for East Leeds and Rob was over there in Casp, but We always played representative together, and it always felt that we were always touring together as well. We, Australia a few times, France, and different places, South Africa, and we're always roommates as well. So we ended up spending tons of time together. So I'd probably say 11 would be the first time that we started playing together and against each other.
I've seen that photo. It's an amazing, when you think about the journey that you both went on, it's amazing to look at that photo.
If you suffer from arthritis or joint pain, you must see this. An award-winning doctor reveals an astonishing natural way to restore healthy joints in record time. Did you
Do you guys see this app right here? It's called Audible. There's actually a better way to make money on Amazon other than selling physical products. And actually, it's using Audible. If you don't know what Audible is, it's actually owned by Amazon, which is one of the biggest marketplaces in the world. But instead, Audible is where you can buy podcasts or audiobooks. The first time I heard about this was actually 3 years ago when I met Christian. Christian showed me how he was using Audible and how he was replacing his full-time income by just putting up these audio files on Audible. So he showed it to me, and then pretty much in a few months, I started doing the same thing, and it allowed me to quit my full-time job. Then I taught the same process to my mom, and my mom is making about $900 a month right now, and I'm even teaching it to my little brother so that he can pay for college. I want to show you how I was able to do this, but obviously this is an ad. If you click the link below, you'll be able to attend a free training where we walk through a very simple 4-step process on how you can do the same thing for yourself. And the best part is it's very beginner friendly. I knew nothing about online business or even that you could, sell things online, and I was able to make it work. My mom has no business experience. She doesn't even speak perfect English, and she was able to make this happen. And my brother is 18 and he's doing this. So this really is for anybody, no matter where you are in the walk of life. So click the link below. You'll see a link to attend a free training. All you have to do is put your email in and you will have immediate access to this free training. It's very short, no strings attached. And if you stay until the end of this free training, we actually have a lot of free bonuses that you can take and start acting on right away so that you can start putting up some of these things on Audible yourself. Okay, so remember, just this little app on your phone could really, really have the power to change your life, replace your income, or even allow you to quit your job. So just click the link below before this ad ends, because I want you to start taking advantage of this right now while not many people know about it, okay? So this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Grab it while you can. All right, I'll see you on the inside.
Biggest head guy, looked like one of them astronaut helmets on his shoulders, didn't it? But I find it amazing to think that Maguire and Burrow are a bit like beer and kebabs. Beer and kebabs. You don't have one without the other, do you? And to think you can trace it back to that first time and look at a bloke that had everything going against him. He was so small, so diminutive, so underdeveloped in lots of different ways, but when he had a rugby ball in his hand, there was nobody to touch him.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think one of my favourite, probably my favourite moment in the game is both ourselves lifting the trophy in 2017, and then obviously thinking back to when we first started playing together for Yorkshire under 11s. It's a 25-year time span, and it's crazy the amount of games and time that we would have spent together, and I cherish those moments that we spent on the field together. We had a brilliant understanding. We always seemed to click, and obviously got on really well off the field as well. And it's really strange how our journeys sort of mirrored each other all the way through.
Him and Magsy were obviously the halves, and he was just a good team man, because he's just close with everyone. Always thought, there was a lot of selflessness involved there. And for mine, I think it's one of the most important ingredients in if you want to have a successful side, is people giving up their egos and, putting the team first. And Rob was You know, he was paramount and all that, and because we had a team that had, you know, some real creative players. I mean, you know, Kevin Sinfield is so creative, and Danny Maguire, Brent Webb. So there was 4 guys on the field that, you know, with Rob that can ball play. So there's a lot of selflessness involved in all of them, you know, to run the team, because it was rich. It was rich with creativity, you know, and so that's, you know, one of the traits of Rob, you know, it's team first attitude.
Back in the 2000s, early 2000s it was, I came across Rob as a player. I think he was playing for England A. We were on a tour for Australia, and just the way that he performed in that game, that's all we could speak about really after the match. Is just how small he was, how strong he was, how good he was. You know, all those superlatives that you'd say about a young up-and-coming player, but there was something special about Rob that night, and still something special about him today.
One of the most explosive and dynamic players that I ever played with. You know, and you don't even take his size into account. That was just how he played the game. But to do it at that size and to compete the way he did, I've never seen another player do what he does on the footy field.
I was way bigger than him, but he used to do my tackles and, you know, the runs. That's why I like, you know, when I'm tired, and I was tired all the time, so he used to come in and do like little darts, which gave us a rest. He was just one of those type of players, like, you know, picked these up, you know, when the boys are tired, and just magic. He was magical. You know, some of the stuff that he could do is phenomenal. Like I could even, yeah, you know, you kind of dream about it, but he did it. You know, he scored tries and big plays at big times, you know, vital times, and that was him, man. He was just incredible.
One of the things I think with Rob is if he felt, when he had the ball in his hand, a lot of people think he made it up as he was going along, but if he felt that you were in a better position than him, he would give it you, and you would have that understanding. He nearly always gave me the ball, and I thought when Jamie Jones-Buchanan was talking about that try in 2011 at the grand final, and he was screaming for the ball, Rob, give me the ball, and then Rob looked at it, weighed it up, and then da-da-da, and it was the try that I think will always be synonymous with Rob and his contribution to the club on those great games and those big games particularly. But he was always pretty good with me. When I first saw him, I just looked at him and I thought, he was all ears, all nose, all teeth, and he was just somebody. I looked at him and thought, my word, how's he going to get on this fella? But having trained with him for a period of time, you realise, don't you, that his ability to change direction, his ability to look at a big scary monster and just think, well, I can go around them, I can go underneath them, or just beat them with a little bit of smart, a little bit of intellect.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of people underestimated Rob throughout his career. You know, I think you probably would have took a look at him and thought, you know, he's having it today. He's small. He's going to get traffic run at him, but he was always so brave. Even I remember him in them early days, in probably 11 to 16, picking front rowers up and dumping them on the back.
Did.
And he never shirked away from the tough stuff, and I think that's probably why everybody respected him so much. He was such a tough player, and just about mine and his understanding, it was sort of almost telepathic, but I suppose that was over time. You know, we played academy rugby together. We spent loads of time together on tours, and I think partnerships are developed over, not just on the rugby field, off the field as well. You get to understand the person, and I'd like to think when he sort of carried the ball or was looking to do something, I sort of knew he was going to do it, if that makes sense, and vice versa. So, we always had a really good understanding that way.
I just love the difference of Rob, his ability to support the ball, always around the ball, always yapping, always chatting, and tough. You can't say much more about Rob as, you talk about all the skill parts of the game, but it was his toughness, the one-on-one tackles he had to make, because people tried to spot him up all the time, but you'd never get past Rob.
Let's talk about Rob Burrow, the trickster. Let's talk about Burrow and the way that he made my life a misery, the way that he made Kylie's life a misery when I left.
He kind of looked after me, Rob. He was my little mate there, so he didn't pick on me, but a few of the big boys, he loved getting into Kylie Littlewhite. He was his number one target.
The amount of times he stole my underwear, he stole my clothes when we were in the gym somewhere. We might have been up at David Lloyd's just on the ring road there. I cannot count. He must have had tricks that he's played on you. Or did he respect your partnership?
It's really weird, yeah. We almost had a pact that was unspoken.
I wish I'd have known that pact.
And there's a bit of a theme there to his targets, isn't there? He seems to be front runners. I don't know.
He's a bully.
A bit of a bully, but he's going for the bigger guys, so it's bravery, I suppose, again. But yeah, we always had an unwritten rule that we never sort of played any pranks. I used to encourage him a little bit to try and...
Did you?
I was a little bit pulling the strings a little bit behind the scenes, and like I say,
go and steal his underpants.
We did a few things to Kev Sinfield and Jonesy on one tour, but yeah, me and Rob, we always had a bit of a pact, and yeah, I tell a story, a pretty funny one, and it's probably the only time he sort of got me, but it's only small, and Rob used to get there first every game. He was always the first changed, and I went far behind. He'd go for a massage. And my peg was literally opposite the door as you came into the change rooms. So I go for a massage, put all my clothes nice and neat on my peg, and I get back from my massage and I can see my white Calvin Kleins. And I look and I think, what's that? And there's a big brown stain down the middle of my white Calvin Kleins, and I'm like, I'm sure they're fresh on. I'm sure I had a shower before I set off. So anyway, I scurry over to my peg, take them off and put them in my bag before hopefully nobody sees it. Anyway, the lads are rolling about on the floor laughing, and I'm like thinking, what's going on here? Anyway, turns out Rob's got the chocolate off a Jaffa cake and smudged it in my undies anyway. So that was probably the only time that he did something to me. Other than that, we were probably
quite tame.
Quite tame compared to some of the stuff that you had to deal with, Baz.
Listen, I was tormented on a regular basis, whether it was my shoes, whether it was my socks. There was always something missing out of my bag. Now, as you say, I think we respectfully looked at our game day stuff and left that alone because we all needed to be on the money, but it was open season, weren't it, during the week and training and everything.
But I always think you need somebody like that within your group. He always lifted morale, on a bad performance, you lost at the weekend, and you need somebody to be in that different mindset. You know, we had a few moody guys that hated losing, and you know, sometimes Monday or Saturday mornings after a loss can be tough places, and you always need a character in there that can lighten the mood, and Rob was definitely that person throughout our time.
Through quotes from films or The Office or whatever it
was,
his breath.
Just the one-liners, he's probably the best I know at one-liners. He knows them all from films and The Office and Partridge, and you know, somebody that can just lighten that mood is really important in team dynamics, I think.
When he walked into a room, it sort of lit up. I think it was a practical joker. My locker was down the other end, but you could always hear Rob. Always laughing, giggling, taking the mickey out of someone, which is always in good fun. So his relationship with Kylie Lulawai, I used to love that, the big guy and the little guy, and their little combination was great to watch and great to listen to.
Cheeky guy, you know, just always a happy chat, always looking for someone to prank or joke around with. He was just one of those guys. He just brought excitement. You know, he was always cheered the boys up, I guess. But he had a good heart. Probably one of those like Mighty Mouse kind of type dudes. He's just real explosive, but got a good heart, good sense of humour. Anyway, he got along with everyone, I guess.
And he was so selfless, and I suppose that was, in 2011 when Brian Mack first came in and he got put to the bench.
Tough time for him, that. Yeah. I had a couple of conversations with him. I reckon you would have done as well. It tested his loyalty to the club, didn't it?
I was kind of put into 7. Obviously Kev was 6, and we were all really good friends, so it was like there could have been a problem there. There could have been like somebody take the bat and ball home and make a real issue within the team.
Did you ever talk about it?
We spoke about it a little bit, but we had that much respect for each other that it happened, but we just got on with it. I don't know. It was weird. And yeah, he just did what his role for the team to the best. And yeah, I'm not saying he didn't moan. He was disappointed. He wanted to play, and he was upset with some of the decisions that the coach at the time made. But I suppose his big point was, I'm going to go out there and prove every weekend that I'm worthy to be starting in this team, that I'm a valuable player within this team. And obviously what he did in the final, and what he did throughout the rest of that time that he probably played. Interchange 9 on 9, he were always turning games, and he were always coming up with special players.
Yeah, the 2011 grand final try for Rob Burrow was such an iconic moment for the Leeds Rhinos. What I saw, my vision from where I sat or stood, Watching that was just amazing. I still feel like it was yesterday. Just just to see him weave and bump and away he went. It just ducked his head, typical Rob Burrow run, but the ability to move really quick sideways as much as he moved quickly going forward was instrumental in that try. And in the situation of the game as well, in a grand final at Old Trafford, so many Leeds Rhinos fans just got so much joy out of that. But to have that view and that vision to see Rob pull that try off, it's one of the best visions of my career. And to win on the back of that try, it was amazing. It's an iconic moment in the Leeds Rhinos history.
Oh, he's got under the Burrow, and he's outstripped Wellens. It's a brilliant Burrow try, a fantastic Rob Burrow try.
If your horse is beaten by a length of the winner, we'll give you a free bet back. Coral, get closer to the action.
If any name's getting tossed up, Rob's got to be at the top of the list or somewhere close there. And no one could be more deserving.
His being inducted in the Hall of Fame is just thoroughly deserved. That's his playing career, most successful 7 in Rhinos history. And what he's going through is heartbreaking. But you just see Rob as he is as a player. He's just, he never quits. He's tough. He always loved that clip from Al Pacino, in Any Given Sunday, and fight for the inch, and that's him. That's Rob. He fights for every inch and every part of his life, and that's him in a nutshell.
One of the things he doesn't get credit for, when I first met him, when I first looked at him, I used to think, I'm going to have to look after this kid, mate. I'm going to have to look after him because he's a bit brittle, he's a bit fragile, he's only knee-high to a grasshopper. I very quickly realised that he was tough. He was tough in his mentality, he was tough in his approach, and he was brave and courageous in the way that he looked at big men and made fools of them, left them chasing shadows.
I never really thought of him as being the smaller player. I mean, he walked into the side every week. He was a Rhinos number 7, and he was fed by the opposition. You could see that when we got a little bit of momentum in our attacking sets. The threat of Rob running is just so scary for the opposition. And I had a mate once over in York tell me, gee, when Rob runs, it's like he's shot out of a cannon. He's so quick, and not only that, he's so strong through the hips and strong with it. So there were times he'd take the line on and he would go at some gaps, and I would in my mind think that might be a bit too small, this one, but boom, he'd come out the other side.
He was fiery, Rob. He didn't mind a little blow up on the field, and he'd never really blow up much with his teammates. No. That would probably more me and Jonesy that would be blowing up with each other in JP. But Rob didn't mind a bit of an argument with the opposition, and you get into a tough game. Them Bradford days, the Saints, the rivalries with Saints and Wigan, and Rob was in there in the mix and never shied away. And you speak about his talents with the ball, his ability to beat people, his footwork, his speed, but his bravery. That for me, that's the top of his.
Even though, and we. So that era that stretched from the early part of the century, the 2001, when you all started to come through, a bit before Kev, all the way up to when you left the club, you look at that era there, and the constant within his game is everybody was trying to find a place for him. Everyone was trying to put him in a spot in the defensive line where he wasn't exploited. But it didn't matter who ran at him. No. He jumped up, hit him round the ankles, picked him up and drove him into the ground, didn't he? And he didn't lose out in them stakes, did he?
Me and him used to try and hide on the wing, like the half-backs. You try and protect him, and sometimes me and Rob would find ourselves on the same side, and it was a bit of a competition who could go closer to the wing. So I'd push him in, or he'd push me out, and I think it would who were more tired had to go a bit closer in. But then, like say, when anyone sort of came in his alley or came down his channel, 9 times out of 10 he made him pay. He picked him up and dumped him on the back, and I think that's, for me, you know, young halfbacks now, you probably coach them offence all the time, how to be good offence, but if your defence isn't strong, you know, all the things that you want to try and apply offensively you can't do because you lose your confidence if you're not tackling. And Rob was probably one of the best defenders, one of the best halfback defenders we've seen. He, you know, really strong, very rarely missed tackles.
So tough and, you know, stayed in the game and really competitive. Yet flip side, off the field, just such a gentleman. You know, he's a credit to his family and how he's raised his mum and dad and his wife Lindsay and family, the children. You know, what a fantastic family of the Burrows.
One of the bonuses of going to the Rhinos for me was to whip around to Florida to play a trial match. I think we played Salford, so I got to experience the passion of Rob Burrow in the country of the US. So very passionate when he went over there, loved Florida. But yeah, he took me to Disneyland. I jumped in his car. He was the leader, he was the driver of the car, and we had a couple of young boys around us. But we went to Disneyland, so a lot of those memories and those experiences that I remember about my time over in the USA revolves around Rob, and got to know his passion for Michael Jackson as well.
Oh, he loves Michael Jackson. If you said anything bad about Michael Jackson, he'll be at you, man. He'll give it to you. He'll let you know.
Yeah, had a lot of fun in that time around in Florida, and I know Rob bought a place around there, Macy's Villa, so didn't get a chance to go there, but for me, I know it made a lot of people happy because a lot of people went around there.
Join us and get 40 free spins. Admiral Casino. Feel the flutter.
Florida, we got to go and play over there a couple of times. Once v South Sydney, and against Salford. Great time. It was really awesome over there. So just to be in camp together, I think we're there close to 10 days. And yeah, it was, you know, everyone gets on great, and got to play against a Sydney team, which the players really enjoyed. And
the same as Webby, I'm honoured and just to be a part of the team, but that he played with, but also grace the field with him. He's a great man, lovely, genuine person.
Their bond is in friendship. That's passed, that's come on, and that's been proven by how everyone's getting together to help Rob, and led by Kevin and the boys all jumped on board. Everybody, we all love Rob. We feel a long way away here, down under and down in New Zealand, but our hearts are with Rob and the Burrow family all the way.
Not one to be too emotional at times, but to see the visions come through my TV screen, a lot of times this year, firstly talking about the testimonial match for Jamie Jones and Rob, to see him run onto the field, to give anything just to be there, and more importantly be on the field with him was, now still gives me chills. So to see that and to see what he's done post that is amazing. And then obviously you've seen what Kev did only weeks ago with the 7 for 7 and the amount of money that was raised. So you talk about special places, you talk about special clubs and special things, but they all revolve around people. They're the special moments and are all about people, and you put so many good people in a team in that golden decade, and to see what's happened this year, the amount of support that's been around Rob on the back of all those special people in that special club, it's so proud to be a part of and play a really small part in the Rhinos history, to be there to say I was a Leeds Rhinos player.
Oh mate, just completely honoured and humbled to have spent so much time with him and playing alongside him.
Special guy, eh?
Love you, mate. I've never seen a group of players so close, and being humble, being courteous, being kind, looking after each other, and Rob's a big part of why that culture is like that.
Rob is the first player from the summer era to be inducted into the Leeds Hall of Fame. It's my privilege and pleasure to induct you into the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame.
All my life I've been a Rhinos fan. All my life I just wanted to play for Leeds. I'm just proud to have played at this wonderful club for so many years, let alone be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of all trophies that we were lucky enough to win, this one means the most. There is no club in the world that compares to the Rhinos. A massive thank you to everyone who put faith in me and believe that size doesn't matter. This is the ultimate accolade for me. It means so much. Thank you.
Rob, welcome into the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. And to welcome this year's inductees, I'd like to welcome Phil Kaplan, the chairman of the Leeds Rhinos Heritage Group.
When the Rhinos instituted the acclaimed Greats of the Millennium concept in 1999, two bastions of the front row were included. Current Hall of Famer Joe Thompson won. The other still retains a place in the club's records. Leeds' win over Coventry in April 1913 remains unique. The Loiners ran up at a then record score of 102-0, and the game is still the only time when every member of a team has been on the score sheet. A prop that historic afternoon scored 8 of the 24 tries, then a club best and a mark which has been equalled just once by winger Eric Harris. Remarkably, the forward subsequently managed just 76 tries in his entire career and never achieved a total of more than 7 in 17 other seasons for Leeds. Signed from Brotherton, by 1906 he was the most feared forward in the game, and 4 years later skippered the side to their first silverware, the Challenge Cup. He scored a vital try in the narrowest semi-final win over Warrington, was relentless in the taming of Hull in both the drawn first game and replay 2 days later. Such was his outstanding form, he was one of 3 Loiners selected on the inaugural Lions tour to the Antipodes in 1910, playing in all 3 tests and scoring the crucial try in the second encounter with the Australians in Brisbane. Appearing in a total of 14 of the 18 tour matches, he was part of the only squad to ever receive a financial guarantee and promised a total of £6,000 to share. As it turned out, the trip exceeded expectations, and the percentage of the gate receipts in Australia and New Zealand totalled over £7,000, and such a safeguard was not written in again. The club's first stalwart, he also appeared for Leeds in their first ever championship final in 1915 and the 1919-20 Yorkshire Cup decider. The 14th inductee is Fred Webster, heritage number 151, 543 appearances between 1902 and 1920.
One of the all-time greats of Leeds, signed on his 18, 1902, finished in 1920, played 543 games. What an incredible record that was.
Well, when you account for the war years as well, it makes you wonder whether he would have ever been the leading appearance maker. John Holmes had 625, so Fred is the first stalwart of the club.
He's one of these players that lasted a huge amount of time, but also has these incredible high points in his career. And there's some really strange ones as well. So, for example, he was the first Leeds player ever to score a real field goal. In 1907, he kicked what was then called the field goal against Sunderland. Now today, people think field goal, like the Australians call it, it's a drop goal. But in those days, a field goal was when a ball was rolling along the ground, you could still kick it over the bar in between the posts and it'd be a goal. And so Fred Webster was the first and quite possibly the last Leeds player to kick a proper field goal.
And he managed to play on until 1920, so 18 years here, 38 when he finished playing. We've already talked about his prowess on the field. He then became a publican in a local suburb around here and carried on being facing the locals by having somewhere on Scotthall Road.
Yeah, well, again, like the other players here, he became part of the local community, and he ran the Sheepscar Hotel, which, as you say, bottom of Scotthall Road, where the Volvo dealership is now. And he was a part of the local community all through the interwar years, and he was just... He reflected the way that rugby league was part of the city, part of the lifeblood and the fabric of the city, in the same way that it is today.
Just again, going back to that 1910 Cup final, first trophy Leeds had won. Even though the replay was a Monday afternoon, mass crowds when the team came back. There'd been drama in the first game because the train had been delayed and the kick-off was late. Yeah. But it meant so much to the city, which had just gained city status. It's only been about, I think, 5 years before that Leeds had elevated itself. And to have the sporting team that carried the name of the city win a major trophy and parade it through the streets, it was. We shouldn't underestimate how important that was for this club.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I think is always is a wonderful tribute to those players in that final is that the Daily Graphic, which was then one of the leading newspapers at the time, sent up a reporter from London who no doubt had a rugby union background, and he was transfixed by the final, and he wrote on in his report of the match, he said, "The spirit of rugby lives on, and anyone who was at that match on Saturday could see that the spirit of this glorious old game is alive and kicking in the north of England." And I think that's kind of a tribute to the players at the time and a tribute to what the game had achieved in its 15 years of existence up to that point.
So the aim of the Leeds Rhinos Foundation Heritage Committee is to present these salvas to relatives of the people who are the honorary recipients of them. As yet, we haven't found any for Fred, but we'd love this to adorn a sideboard, be it alongside the certificate that will be presented with it, and it would be great to carry on the tradition of Fred's name.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. And to welcome this year's inductees, I'd like to welcome Phil Kaplan, the chairman of the Leeds Rhinos Heritage Group.
Appreciation of backline flamboyance and flair has always been a staple of the Headingley crowd and a prerequisite for those who represent them. A young centre from Castleford Schools Rugby, who had been snapped up for the Headingley Juniors after showing early promise, certainly fitted the bill, and his coach had no hesitation in throwing the teenager into the fray with instant success, a long-range try on his debut signalling his potential. Playing at Wembley in 1971 off the bench while still only 18, he became a superb foil and provider for his winger outside him, personifying the centre's art in one of the best left-sided partnerships the game has seen. It brought him a hatful of winners' medals, 1 championship, 2 premiership, 2 Challenge Cup, John Player and Floodlit trophies and 5 Yorkshire Cups. His career glittered as much as his collection. He was a renowned try scorer as well as provider, claiming 14 in 17 games on the 1974 Lions tour, including in the 2nd and 3rd tests, and remains 8th on the all-time Leeds list with 193. He toured twice again with the England 1975 World Championship squad, and 2 years later for Great Britain, playing in the World Cup final in Sydney, which Australia took by a point. He won 24 international caps over 8 years, but never lost his sheer enjoyment in being out there, rarely if ever suffering from nerves. He relished the big stage and memorably showed at Wembley in 1977 with a gloriously timed angled run for a sublime try, which included rounding the Widner's full back with consummate grace. But he was also tough, direct, had a superb handoff and was immensely popular with his teammates. In 1983 he retired to run a bar in Benidorm, later working in the hospitality trade on the East Coast, before bidding a fond farewell at Headingley and having a spell at Bramley. The 15th inductee is Les Dill, heritage number 1036, 434 appearances between 1970 and 85.
He came through our Colts team and through the A team. and made the grade quite quickly, and turned out to be electrifying speed, Les had. And he played left centre, where I played right centre, of course, and played there for many, many years.
What a mop of hair he had, curly hair, and his moustache a little bit. But on a serious note, Les, such a dominant player, and a dominant player in that area of the field, in the left centres area. But he dominated the era, and he dominated the position here at Leeds, forming a great relationship up with John Atkinson. And also the pace, that was his key. Knew how to run off another great player, John Holmes. They had it to a T, and then it probably lay it off to Atkins.
His main asset was his speed. I mean, he played with a winger called John Atkinson, who unfortunately passed away. But they both were very fast players, and scored many tries between them.
A glittering career for the Loiners, for Leeds Rugby League. Some of the highlights, some of the matches that were your favourite memories?
Well, the Wembley games.
And 77 was a special one?
Yeah.
He played in the 77 and 78 when I stopped playing and was just the coach. And he had two outstanding finals, which we won both good games, one against St Helens and one against Widnes.
He scored in 77, did Les? He scored a try. Getting back to what I said earlier on, our top players, they love playing on big stages.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we did. You know, the atmosphere were good, and we all rose to the occasion. And Les got a very good try against Widnes.
I mean, once he broke the line, there were no
That's it, you're in. Pace.
That was it.
Pace took him.
Inside to Dill. Dill's in with a chance. Dill will score if he doesn't drop the ball. Dill scores. Well, what a delighted Leeds bench, and what a delighted Les. Dill always said about him. It comes to fruition, 8 points to Sutherland.
Said to John Holmes, going to look at winger. I'm going to run straight for him. And I jumped up in air when he looked at it when not tackling him. But that was a good one.
With you and John Atkinson on one flank, always a chance of scoring.
Yeah, I were the fastest, I tell you.
Were you?
Yeah.
Faster than John Atkinson, Alan Smith?
Yeah. He was the fastest player on our books for me.
Yeah, he was.
Because he was so quick off the mark.
He's off the mark. Off the mark to
explosive.
It makes the initial break.
Yeah.
His speed was so natural, and he was such an easy player. That makes it easy for a coach when they've got natural ability.
Second half with Dill. And Dill's in. A chance here with Atkinson. It's whether he's given it too soon, but Atkinson in for a try.
Yeah, he was a class act, weren't he?
Yeah, he was.
No
to play all that long,
it.
to play that time.
Play that time, and there were some good ones about, weren't there?
Yeah, there was.
Good centres. I'll tell you another good one at time when he came up here with Eddie Cunningham.
Eddie had a year with Eddie, didn't they?
Oh, with
Not
a year with Eddie.
Them two.
So, what a pair.
Yeah, there was, as a matter of fact.
You know for a fact, when Les had got the ball and he'd made a break, it would end the story.
Correct.
And then the year after, in 78, coming from behind to beat St Helens.
Yeah.
And that drop goal from John Holmes.
Oh yeah, falling back.
On his left foot.
Yeah.
Six tackle coming up. Can have a drop. Can have a drop. He got the goal with his left foot.
On other people in that team, there were David Ward, of course, the captain.
Yeah, I mean, David, Wardy, we went to Wembley, whether we played it there 17 times.
From my point of view also, like from my captain the side in them areas, such a great help, an important member of the team.
And what about your mate Phil Cookson?
Oh, yeah, super.
I think his closest mate was Phil Cookson, without a doubt, because they both come from Normanton, which is a stronghold for Castleford players, of all places. But yeah, both Phil and Les came from the far side of Yorkshire and made the mark at Leeds, of course, both of them. Both of them played a lot of years for Leeds Rugby League Club.
And he introduced you to alcohol, didn't he, Phil Cookson?
Didn't want to say anything about that.
He liked to drink, didn't he?
Yeah, just a bit. We all did. We all did.
We did, yeah.
You both played together for Great Britain 74, 75, is that right?
75, World Cup
75 in England.
Over in Australia.
Over in Australia, yeah. That's right. You did. Yeah. So you had the pleasure of being with Les on tour.
Aye.
Did he lead you astray?
Yeah, that's the, yeah.
Now Phil Cookson said it was you that led him astray. And some other characters in that Leeds team, Les, Tony Fisher.
Tony Fisher, hardest man I've ever known, but a good side, good side.
And what about your time in Australia, touring? Enjoyed that as well?
Went on tour in 74. And there were 28 games played in 23. And it was just ridiculous. The Aussies wanted done it.
And you played against some great Australian players, Les?
Yeah.
Who do you remember most?
Fulton.
Bobby Fulton?
Yeah. He came across. I thought, right, I'm going to whack you. Everything I've got. Bang. And he just pushed me off.
First of all, he worked for the environmental health.
You were a public health inspector.
Public health inspector in the Wakefield district, Emsworth district. And then he got to think about what happens after your life in rugby. And he took up the option of going to Benidorm, and in them early days. And then from Benidorm, he opened up a place in Bridlington. And I did go once in his early days.
I went over a couple of times because I had a caravan out in Bryn, a static caravan years ago. And I used to call a couple of times to see Dilly.
I've been across to see him in Bridlington, and he's been there now a lot of years, of course. I think the first 2 years, of course, I went to see Les when they moved into the pub cum restaurant and a little bit boarding house, you know, a bit of holiday accommodation. But they tell me he's not so well at the moment. And I send my regards to you, Les, and hope you get well soon.
Bridlington Amateur Rugby League Club, He phoned me up, did Les. Can I go across and present the medals for the Amateur Rugby League Club at end of season? And we had a good night, fabulous night. He put me up and I stayed at his place.
When he were at his best, he was probably the best centre in the world, without a doubt for me. Good all-round player, his pace were magnificent. And when he went, there were no catching him.
He'd be elated to think he's outside of his mate John Atkinson, of course, that got inducted into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, like myself. He'd be over the moon.
I'm sure you're smiling, Les, now looking at me. And you're a fabulous character, and the award that is coming to you is well worth it, mate, well worth it indeed. You were a major player. Can't speak too highly of you, mate.
Les, it gives me great pleasure to present you with your silver salver and in an induction into the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame.
Thank you. It's amazing, the Hall of Fame, and my name going to be up there.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. And to welcome this year's inductees, I'd like to welcome Phil Kaplan, the chairman of the Leeds Rhinos Heritage Group.
When the Rhinos instituted the acclaimed Greats of the Millennium concept in 1999, two bastions of the front row were included. Current Hall of Famer Joe Thompson won. The other still retains a place in the club's records. Leeds' win over Coventry in April 1913 remains unique. The Loiners ran up a then record score of 102-0, and the game is still the only time when every member of a team has been on the score sheet. A prop that historic afternoon scored 8 of the 24 tries, then a club best, and a mark which has been equalled just once by winger Eric Harris. Remarkably, the forward subsequently managed just 76 tries in his entire career and never achieved a total of more than 7 in 17 other seasons for Leeds. Signed from Brotherton, by 1906 he was the most feared forward in the game, and 4 years later skippered the side to their first silverware, the Challenge Cup. He scored a vital try in the narrowest semi-final win over Warrington, was relentless in the taming of Hull in both the drawn first game and replay 2 days later. Such was his outstanding form, he was one of 3 Loiners selected on the inaugural Lions tour to the Antipodes in 1910, playing in all 3 tests and scoring the crucial try in the second encounter with the Australians in Brisbane. Appearing in a total of 14 of the 18 tour matches, he was part of the only squad to ever receive a financial guarantee and promised a total of £6,000 to share. As it turned out, the trip exceeded expectations, and the percentage of the gate receipts in Australia and New Zealand totalled over £7,000, and such a safeguard was not written in again. The club's first stalwart, he also appeared for Leeds in their first ever championship final in 1915 and the 1919-20 Yorkshire Cup decider. The 14th inductee is Fred Webster, heritage number 151, 543 appearances between 1902 and 1920.
One of the all-time greats of Leeds, signed on his 18, 1902, finished in 1920, played 543 games. What an incredible record that was.
Well, when you account for the war years as well, it makes you wonder whether he would have ever been the leading appearance maker. John Holmes had 625, so Fred is the first stalwart of the club.
He's one of these players that lasted a huge amount of time, but also has these incredible high points in his career. And there's some really strange ones as well. So, for example, he was the first Leeds player ever to score a real field goal. In 1907, he kicked what was then called the field goal against Sunderland. Now today, people think field goal, like the Australians call it, it's a drop goal. But in those days, a field goal was when a ball was rolling along the ground, you could still kick it over the bar in between the posts and it'd be a goal. And so Fred Webster was the first and quite possibly the last Leeds player to kick a proper field goal.
And he managed to play on until 1920, so 18 years here, 38 when he finished playing. We've already talked about his prowess on the field. He then became a publican in a local suburb around here and carried on being facing the locals by having somewhere on Scotthall Road.
Yeah, well, again, like the other players here, he became part of the local community, and he ran the Sheepscar Hotel, which, as you say, bottom of Scotthall Road, where the Volvo dealership is now. And he was a part of the local community all through the interwar years, and he reflected the way that rugby league just was part of the city, part of the lifeblood and the fabric of the city, in the same way that it is today.
Just again, going back to that 1910 Cup final, first trophy Leeds had won. Even though the replay was a Monday afternoon, mass crowds when the team came back. There'd been drama in the first game because the train had been delayed and the kick-off was late. Yeah. But it meant so much to the city, which had just gained city status. It's only been about, I think, 5 years before that Leeds had elevated itself. And to have the sporting team that carried the name of the city win a major trophy and parade it through the streets, we shouldn't underestimate how important that was for this club.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I think is always is a wonderful tribute to those players in that final is that the Daily Graphic, which was then one of the leading newspapers at the time, sent up a reporter from London who no doubt had a rugby union background, and he was transfixed by the final. And he wrote on the in his report of the match, he said, "The spirit of rugby lives on, and anyone who was at that match on Saturday could see that the spirit of this glorious old game is alive and kicking in the north of England." And I think that's kind of a tribute to the players at the time and a tribute to what the game had achieved in its 15 years of existence up to that point.
So the aim of the Leeds Rhinos Foundation Heritage Committee is to present these salvas to relatives of the people who are the honorary recipients of them. As yet, we haven't found any for Fred, but we'd love this to adorn a sideboard, be it alongside the certificate that will be presented with it, and it would be great to carry on the tradition of Fred's name.
Hello and welcome to the Leeds Rugby League Hall of Fame. And to welcome this year's inductees, I'd like to welcome Phil Kaplan, the chairman of the Leeds Rhinos Heritage Group.
It's unlikely that any overseas signing has created a greater impact than the one who arrived in the city when it was still suffering post-war austerity and in the grip of one of the coldest and most prolonged winters in living memory. The policeman came with a reputation, not least for his ability to look after himself, having made a significant impression facing the 1946 Indomitables tourists. In the third and, as it turned out, his last test in Sydney, the second row was sent off for striking Willie Horne. By the time of his test bow, he was widely regarded as the best player in his position, and there was mass consternation and anger back home when he became the first to transfer to an English club after the ceasing of hostilities, but the Leeds offer was too good to turn down. His debut was delayed by snow and ice, and by the time he took the field against Hull, there was a public frenzy to see him perform. The nearest he got to honours at Headingley was in his opening campaign, when the Loiners made it to Wembley in 1947 without conceding a point, but went down to Bradford. He quickly won the hearts of the Leeds fans and was feared and respected in equal measure by opposing ones. Quick for his size, nimble with a fine sidestep, he could kick to great effect and happily took on the role of guardian of his teammates. One of the greatest characters on and off the field, he represented the other nationalities 14 times and moved across Leeds in 1954 to finish his career with 3 seasons at Hunslet. Thereafter he opened a sports shop which ensured that junior sides got properly kitted out, invariably at his expense, and was a renowned charity fundraiser, not least for Variety Club, and philanthropist. He was a liaison officer for the Kangaroo tourists as well as a marvellous raconteur. A fine local cricketer, in his later years a valuable member of the Sports Council and the Sports Aid Foundation, he was captain at Moortown Golf Club and on the rugby committee at Leeds. The 13th inductee is Arthur Clues, heritage number 841, 236 appearances between 1947 and 54. Arthur's arrival here created mass interest. It's just after the Second World War, it's a period of austerity, people are starting to get back on their feet, they need something to look forward to, sporting crowds have never been as big, people want to get out there. And Leeds sign, a guy who they've seen in the papers has terrorised the tourists. Yeah. And the interest with Bert Cook arriving at the same time from New Zealand is enormous, and it's exacerbated by the fact that it's one of the harshest winters and they can't actually get to see him play. It's fever pitch here in Leeds.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's, and this is a great point about rugby league, is that rugby league's always been really successful when it's combined grit with glamour, and it was players like Arthur Clues, Lionel Cooper, as you said, Bert Cook coming up here from down under that gave the glamour to the game. And as you say, one of the things that was going on, Arthur signed in January 1947 for Leeds. Just at the point the worst winter in living memory started, and so he got here, played his first match against Hull in front of 18,000 people, and then there were no matches for another 6 weeks because everything was frozen out. So it was like people were chomping at the bit to see this player who came over this massive reputation. And so once the season finally got back underway, people just flocked to come and see him. And it was that, as I say, Arthur was one of these players who managed to combine sort of rugby league characteristics of toughness, but also real excitement.
I never actually saw him play at Leeds. I saw him at his back end of his career when he played with Hunslet. because as a schoolboy and just in the early teens, Arthur had a couple of years, I think, down at Parkside, Hunslet, where I'd been born and bred and played with Hunslet Juniors when I left school. So I saw Arthur play his back end of his football career down at Hunslet.
As a fellow Australian, you'll remember watching Arthur Close, of course, and especially that 1946 Test series when he played for Australia against England.
Indeed, I do, because it was my last year at school, and I went to school just opposite the Sydney Cricket Ground where Arthur played. 2 of the 3 tests were played at the cricket ground, and he was chosen ahead of Harry Bath, who came over to play in England eventually, and he got the position, and we were all pleased because the New South Wales player got it over the Queensland player, which was always a contention and still is.
A lot of the forwards that played in my time when I played, they looked up to Arthur, you know, and he was always there if they wanted to chat about anything and give some advice, and he was very, very helpful like that to them.
Well, we talk about characters in the sport, and there clearly can't have been many bigger ones that came over to play in this competition.
Yeah, he's a big character before he even started playing. Before he started playing rugby league, he played rugby union for Paramount Rugby Union Club in Sydney. And as far as I'm aware, was the only man ever to be sent off while being a touch judge during a match, because he was a touch judge for Parramatta when they played Eastern Suburbs Rugby Union, and one of the East players got away down the wing, down Arthur's wing, and Arthur thought, God, he's going to score here, so his instinct took over, and he tackled him and found himself banned, not surprisingly, by the New South Wales Rugby Union for a considerable period of time, and then he was signed by Western Suburbs because he was like a lot of players in Sydney play uni. He was a leaguey at heart.
And was there any matches in particular stood out that both you and Arthur were playing in together?
The regular ones with Hunslet were tough. Every, what they call the Lazenby Cup then, they were always tough. A little bit like at the moment, state of origin games between New South Wales and Queensland. They had an edge.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the season. And Arthur wanted them to win, not knowing that when he finished at Leeds he was to go and play for Hunslet.
And people of an age still talk about Arthur, and they don't just talk about him being aggressive. I mean, that's the given. But apparently he had a nimble of foot, he had a great side step, he had a really good broken field kicking game. He looked after all the players around him. He's what we might call a real leader of men on the field.
Yeah, and he was someone who led by example as well, because as you say, he had all the talents that you need to be a top-class rugby league player, and I think that's although his reputation has always been based on his toughness, it's often overshadowed the fact that in a lot of ways he was ahead of his time, because at that point Australian forwards were seen basically as get your head down, just charge into the opposition, play the ball, and they'd go on and on like that. It was really the British players, the British forwards who were the ball players, whereas Arthur was different. He was more like a British player because he did have that range of skills, and yeah, he had just the fact that people were still talking about him, 70 odd years since he signed, is an indication of what a great player he was.
He was a wonderful player, really dominant. Whoever was on the field, Arthur would dominate, and his strength was he was quick, big, could sidestep, and in particular could do a little kick, gather and chase and pass. I've never seen a forward that size do that since.
He could play, and he was one of the best tactically and talented back rowers that ever played. And what a pioneering story that is, coming all the way from Australia after the war, and at that time, and settling down in this country and not going.
It never went back.
Never went back.
To
settle. Very good. One of the main things that I can do remember of Arthur is when the Australians touring site came across. He looked after them then, didn't he? I think he chaperoned them around Leeds, and he'd always fetch one of his pals in, an Australian, a good hour before the kick-off, and again he was telling us how to how to beat the Australians on a Wednesday evening up here, you know, in that dominant way that he had. Tremendous guy.
I was in a Masonic lodge with Arthur, and we only used to meet about 4 times a year, but we had some super days out, socialising, going racing, having meals, having a few drinks, and a full day of it, you know. And I got to know Arthur more as I got older than when I was younger playing.
And he gave up the right to play for Australia by coming here, but he absolutely loved playing for the other nationalities. And his second row combination with fellow Australian Harry Bath, not two people you wanted to go out and play against, but he loved it. He revelled in the fact that this idea of mate against mate, before we even had state of origin in Australia, that he could go and belt his fellow teammates, and it really meant a lot to him to wear that jersey.
Yeah, you're right. It was a kind of state of origin thing for us, and also with Harry Bath as well, because there was a lot of rivalry when Harry Bath played for Warrington throughout the 50s, and so Arthur versus Harry Bath. I mean, that was really like a test of the two best Australian second rowers in England or Australia, and so when Leeds played Warrington, it was always a massive battle between the two of them. But when they played for other nationalities, as you say, like state of origin, there were two teammates who stood up for each other, whatever was going on. So there was it was a time for rugby league fans where you really got to see the best players in the world. And, you know, Arthur, stands alone. Harry Bath went back to Australia, coached St George, and became one of the all-time great rugby league coaches in Australia.
Arthur became known as the Aussie who never went home. He absolutely loved his time in Leeds. He fell in love with a local girl. And the thing about Arthur is that his rugby career is one thing, and it perhaps doesn't have the medals to go with it that it deserved. But he became a raconteur, a philanthropist, a sports shop owner. His contribution to the city, even coming back to the club and being on the football committee, is enormous. People still talk about him as being a larger-than-life character.
Yeah, and he was, just to kind of pick up on one of the things you said, I mean, he was an all-round sportsman, good golfer, also a great cricketer. Played state level in New South Wales, was a mainstay of Yeadon Cricket Club for years here, and I think there's a story that Harry Jepson used to tell about him that I think you can remember.
Oh yeah, well I think we both know Harry and Arthur were great raconteurs, so whether the truth has got somewhere lost in this, but apparently Arthur used to brag to all and sundry that he was the only person who at Headingley had scored a 6 on the cricket field and a try on the rugby field, and the only person who'd also done that at the Sydney cricket round, scored a 6 and a try, and it was Harry that had to bring him down a peg or two and remind him he was also the only player to be sent off at both venues as well.
Yeah, and which kind of sums him up. Tremendously talented, but also, when there was, to use the vernacular, shall we say, when there was a bit of biff going on, Arthur was never far from it.
And he was a fair cricketer as well.
Oh, very, very good cricketer, yes. We used to have a Sunday team, but I watched him several times, and a big hitter of the ball, and also a leg break bowler, not a fast bowler or a slow off spin, but a leg break bowler, which did well. Yes.
And a good golfer.
Yes, I believe, yes.
Moving away from just rugby, I mean, he was a big player in the city. I mean, I did know at the time, in my early days, that he was captain of the golf club, Motown. And they had the foresight, before anything else happened, he opened sports shops in Leeds. I do remember that. So he had the foresight.
When I became the coach and then the manager, Arthur was always at Headingley. Every game, he never missed, him and his wife. And he had the sports shop down in Leeds, of course. And when I was popping about in Leeds doing a bit of shopping, I'd call in and have a chat with him.
A quiet, shy, retiring type of person as well.
I wouldn't say that. In fact, quite the opposite. But he was gentle underneath that. It appeared to be rough and tough. That was the image he wanted to give. But there was a gentle side to Arthur, yes, indeed.
My wife told me the other day about the team bus. We went down as players on the bus. and there was the supporters bus, or the wives and girlfriends went down on the other, and Arthur took it upon him to chaperone all the girlfriends and wives, and my wife says that they had a fabulous time in the hotel for that particular weekend as well, and that was Arthur's role.
He would have been elated, Arthur, being an Australian and getting into the Leeds Hall of Fame.
I believe Arthur would probably be the best player I ever saw, and he had speed, he had he had everything. He had a sidestep, and of course if things got a bit rough you could always rely on Arthur to sort it out.
Well, I think that's very nice of Lewis to say that, because not a mutual admiration society, Harry, but I do feel that Lewis Jones was probably the greatest footballer I've ever seen and played with in all the years I've been connected with the game.
Arthur was always the life and soul of the party. Once he'd had a drink or two and loosened up, he was a great fella.
Arthur Clowes doesn't have any relatives in England, and so Keith, as a fellow Australian and former teammate of Arthur Clowes, we'd like you to accept this on his behalf.
Oh, thanks very much, Gary. I'm very honoured to take it for Arthur. Not only honoured, I'm humble, because Arthur was a player. I could tie his bootlaces maybe, but he was a wonderful player. One of the best Australia's ever had. Sorry.
Probably the greatest rugby league club in the world is Leeds, actually.
A lot of the supporters, even though they must be as old as me now, into the 70s, they'll remember Arthur and what a great player he was when he played at Leeds.